Hi, this is Richard. We're doing another quick tip for Blender. This time we're going to be talking about animating, and this is just a quick introduction. I'm going to be doing a longer video on animating for our intermediate series, but right now, just to get you started, here's a few quick things that you can do. Now, when you first start up Blender, you'll notice that you have this timeline down here, and you hit play and nothing happens. This little green line moves across, but still it's pretty useless. Well, now we're going to get to make use of that. So go up here to Default, and click here and go to Animation. This is your animation layout where you can work on your animations. I mean, pretty straightforward. This down here's the graph editor, up here's, well, it's the dope sheet. So now you see you have this cube and we want to animate it. So let's drag it back here. We're going to use what's called keyframes. We're just going to make it go across and it's going to do some crazy things. So let me turn on screencast keys real quick and then we'll take a look at this. All right, now you can see right here what I'm doing. I'm just going to hit I, and we're going to drop in a keyframe. This is our starting point, and we can choose location, rotation, scaling, location and rotation, location and scale, location, rotation and scale, rotation and scale. So then there's these others as well. Let's just focus on these up here for right now. Make sure you choose the right one, because I'll show you why. Let's do location, rotation, and scale, and I'll just click that one, and you see it drops in these diamonds here. And down here you have a timeline that looks exactly like this. This is actually your frames for your timeline, just like you have down here. This is frame 0, it's a start. And then we have all the way up to 250, and it's delineated right here. Start, end. So let's make it end at 24, which if we're doing 24 frames per second, this would be 1 second long. And this is what frame you're currently on. This green line is just like the green line down there on the timeline. You can see now I'm moving it. Let's just go back to the beginning and let's hit play. Nothing happens, but you can see the green line moving across all these places that we have. And let's go back to the beginning. Now, I added that keyframe and I added this little green guy in here. So we did location, rotation, and scale. And I have X, Y, Z location, X, Y, and Z rotation, X, Y, and Z scale. And you'll see in a moment why you want to choose only the one that you're doing, because you have them here as well. It's going to get a little messy. So now let's skip, before you do anything else, before you can add any other keyframes, skip to the next frame that you want to put a keyframe. What a keyframe is basically, no matter what else happens in the animation, this cube is going to be right here in this location, with this rotation, and with this scale on this frame. It's a keyed in frame. It's going to be exactly like this for this object. So let's move to the end. And we're just going to make it come over here and up a little bit and back a little bit. And then let's rotate it for our perspective a bit and let's scale it and make it huge. And now let's hit I again and put another keyframe for location, rotation, and scale in. There we go. Now you can see on this graph, let's make it huge, we have this Z, we have this, whoops, let me see if I can click it here. We have this Z, and we have this Z. You have these numbers over here going all the way up to however much I rotated it. There we go. I rotated it 128 and a half degrees. And then we have this Z location. I've moved it 4.5 Blender units. And then we have this Z scale, and I scaled it up 1.5 times, or 1 time. And that's what this is telling us. And I did that from this position on our timeline, from the 0 frame to this position, the 24th frame. And you can see these aren't straight lines, they're curves. And now let's see what this does. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's hit play. Now we have a very simple, very quick and dirty animation. And you can see this line going across all these curves from one location to the next location, and across the scale and across the rotation. You can see it starts small and it gets big. That's the scale going from one keyframe to the next keyframe, gradually between them. And then you can see the Z location. As it moves, it goes up this much. And then we can look at the Z rotation. And as it goes up, it's going to rotate around that Z axis, this much over that many. That's the biggest one, is that Z rotation. It's going to rotate that much over that many frames. So it's a way to visualize our animations between keyframes and to animate things really quickly and easily. So let's go ahead and stop this. It's driving me nuts. And what if you weren't going to use all of these? Well, let's give it a shot. We're gonna, whoops, Shift A. We're gonna add in a cube here. We're gonna drag it over here, and location, rotation, and scale, and we're just gonna put it over here. And let's do it again. Now, I have all of these options that I'm not using. I'm not doing anything with them. It's just cluttering up my workspace, and I'm going to accidentally click on some of these when I'm trying to work. And down here, I've got these, and it's just too much. You don't need all that, so don't use it. I mean, basically, just use what you need. If you're just translating the location, then just use a location keyframe. If you're just doing a rotation, then just use a rotation keyframe. Or if you need more than one, then use more than one. But right now, let's just do a simple continuous GIF. How about? From start to finish, we just have this geometric object, and I'm going to grab my camera. Whoops, I don't have that locked to view. There we go. Grab my camera and put it, oh, I don't know. How about here? So, we need our first keyframe. Let's hit I, and we're just doing rotation. And then we need our last keyframe, so let's go to the end, and we're going to hit rotate Z 90. And then we're going to hit I for keyframe, and rotation again. So starting rotation, ending rotation. Now you can see this goes from 0 all the way up to 90. And there's a nice curve here between those. It's going to be hard to see since it's so long, but there is. And now you've got these little handles here as well, just like if you're doing a Bezier curve. Finally look that up, how to pronounce that word. It's Bezier. So, now let's go ahead and play this. And you can see it starts and then it slows down and stops. It's a slow in and a slow out. That's a good way to animate almost everything, is to have it slowly start moving and speed up in the first fraction of a second, and then slow down gradually to a stop towards the end. It's not, nothing moves linearly, like throwing a ball up and then it comes back down. It's all gradual. It's a slow in and a slow out. It's one of the main facets of animation, actually. But if this is going to be continuous, well, we want it to just keep spinning perpetually instead of stopping and starting like this. So, how do we do that? Well, let's just go ahead and pause this and go back to the start. And right here, you see this little dot here, and you've got the two handlebars. Let's just hit T and change that to linear. And then let's go all the way to the top. Right here. Right-click to select it, hit T, switch it to linear. And now, let's hit play. And now it's moving linearly. You've gotten rid of that curve. And I also want to point out, just like working in any other mode, I mean, you right-click to select, and then you can grab it with right-click and move it around. Didn't want to do that. You can right-click again to drop it. And then watch, if we move this one, this... Okay, now we're doing Y rotation. Now watch what happens when we hit play. Well, nothing. It should be rotating around the Y, but it's not. Oh, it does. It's just... It's trying to. But it's not doing it real great. We have to do it a little bit more than that. It's just going a couple of degrees, so we'd have to grab it and move it really far up. Let's hit Y to constrain it along the Y, and set at 90. There we go. Now let's see. There we go. So now it's rotating along the X and the Y, or X and the Z. 90 degrees. And this one, the X, it's also an F curve. So let's switch that to linear. And here, hit T and switch it to linear. And now, because we have both of those rotations, it is a little herky-jerky, but there's no change in speed. Okay, sure. That's good enough. Now, what do we do with this? Well, let's stop it and let's go to render it. And we're going to click this animation button where normally you click the render. This is just 24 frames. It's not a lot. And we're going to put it in a GIF that's going to be on the internet. So we don't need it to be 50% here of 1080p. We can just make it about 25. And then it's going to be scaled down even further. And we have frame rate set at 24. That's important. I set this end to 24 because it's this frame rate here. So we're just going to be making a 1 second long video. It's going to be 24 different images that are rendered. And we need to pick a place. Right now it's in C-temp. That'll be fine. No, let's pick a different place. I'm just going to put it in render images. And we'll just hit accept. Then, that was right here under output. Right here under output, it's PNG. We need to change this to a movie file. Since it's so short, it's just a few frames, it's not really going to be a burden on our system. We don't have a bunch of shaders or anything crazy going on. It's not going to take very long. There's very low risk of it crashing our system. We can go ahead and choose one of these. And for this quick video, that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to choose AVI RAW. And hit RGB there. All right. So, now we are ready to render this. That was just some real quick settings. And then we're going to hit this animate button. And you're going to see, because we hit 25% here, and it's a very simple, just gray, not much going on, it's going super fast. You can see here counting up the frames, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You can watch this green line going across as it renders it. And we're done. Now we have to go to our location, which I have here. And I think it's this one, 1 to 24. Open it in VLC. There is our rendered animation. So, how are we going to make that a continuous GIF? I just had VLC set to continuous playback. But now we are going to go to the internet. One of the best places to do this is Jiffy Cat. So, open up your Chrome and... Oh, I forgot my control enter. Okay. And then we're just going to hit upload and select. And then super easy, super fast, gives you a link. And then you can put it on Reddit wherever you want. Exploding, encoding, it's done. And there we go, look at that. Now we have a GIF on the internet. And then we can put a title. Whoop. Example animation. Save title. Okay, it's currently being encoded. Just stay on this page until it's finished, and then that's it. And you just saw that private URL to delete it, so I imagine somebody's probably going to come along and delete it after watching the video. Oh well. Until that happens, I'm going to grab the link for it, and I'll post it so that you guys can go look at it. I don't know why you would want to look at that. It's not entertaining at all. But that's the basics to animation, just to get you started so you can play around with these curves and how to move things on each of these keyframe items that you have here. And then you can drag things around and play with how it deforms so that you can really get started making some quick animations. Alright, I hope that was helpful for you. We'll see you in the next video.